It's nice to see everybody's faces. Some of you I kind of met on Zoom, which was very weird this year to not see folks in person. But I think over the last couple of months, we've managed to get a lot of people here back on property, and so it's been nice to see your faces up close again and personal. It's nice. If you don't know me, my name is Natalia Stewart. I'm the Director of Admissions here at QMS. And yeah, we're excited that you have come and joined us. We have a full house tonight, which is great. I just wanted to start off the night and say, and just kind of acknowledge that QMS sits on traditional First Nations lands, and that is unceded territories of the Cowichan people. So that's very unique for schools. Queen Margaret's is a very special school, and I hope over the course of the year that you and your children really recognize that, because the staff here are just wonderful. The students, they're just spectacular, and I think for those you guys new who are sitting in the audience, you're really going to come to make a lot of friends and know the folks around here. The students that are sitting here, or standing here, sorry, they are a representative of the larger community and a very caring community. And I really invite you guys who are new to speak to these guys tonight, because they can tell you a lot about the community and what to look forward to. I really also want to thank you tonight too, and for choosing QMS as your school of choice. We know that you guys have a lot of options, and you've done a lot of research. We are very grateful that you picked us and for your child's education. I wanted to kind of just start off the night by introducing my team, because we have, like many of you, we've been going back and forth, like email or Zoom, Skype, whatever, and so it's sometimes you may not have actually seen our face, or you just kind of know our name. So I'm just going to kind of go around, but I'll start off with Fola here, Fola Lau. He's our Associate Director of International Recruitment. And back there is Amanda Lutner, and she is one of our admissions associates. And we also have Alicia, who's not here today. She's one of our other admissions coordinators. She has a little baby, so she is at home tonight. And then joining my team this year, back there with Miss Lutner, are Claire Noley and Songy Park, and they're actually this year's captains, ambassador captains, admissions captains. So they'll be doing a lot of this stuff this year. And then also over here we have Sydney Ball, who is our head prefect, and Evan Levinson, and he is our deputy head, and Charlie Roberts. And Charlie's here volunteering tonight because she is awesome. So I don't want to talk too long, because I'm going to hand it over to people that you really actually want to hear from. And so the first person is going to be David Robinson, our head of school.
Thank you, Natalia. I'm not sure that that phrase, people that you really want to hear from, is applicable right now. Because those of you who've stumbled across perhaps one of the many videos that I made are probably sick of the sound of my voice. But at least you might have found out a little about me, so I'm going to keep it very short. I just think it's a really exciting time to be at QMS, as simple as that. I've had a long career. You take one look at me, you can figure that out. 40 plus years in education, love teaching, love kids, and just love the possibilities. It's all about possibilities. So I'm really excited to be here, and despite the times that we live in, I'm excited to help navigate us through these times into the brave new world that's ahead of us. So that is all. The shortest speech on history, and Alice will attest to that, because she's had to listen to them for a long time. But that's all I'm going to say tonight, other than to let you know that we'll do a little Q&A after I've made some introductions. And we'll do it sort of open forum, so that there might be the same question that you were going to ask somebody, and therefore you don't get that duplication. And then after that, obviously, there's an opportunity for you to mingle and hopefully get to know some of us and get to know each other a little bit, because the relationship is at the heart of everything, and we value that so much. So without further ado, This fine young man on my right is the Deputy Head of School, and his name is Andrew Monroe, and I'll let him speak for himself.
Well, welcome everyone tonight. It's really great to see you here, and so happy that so many students could make it along as well. Looking forward to getting to know you all a lot this year. It's an exciting time for the school in my mind. I know it's a challenging time around the world as well, and we just are hoping to look for the opportunities within that and to work hard together to really create an excellent experience for the students. My role really within that is I'm responsible for ensuring and improving the quality of the programming at the school to make sure that we really get a high quality all-round education. So some of those programs are going to be the residential program, could be programs to do with leadership, the co-curricular offerings that we have, and so within that as well, just looking at the tone on campus, the culture. Are we creating an environment that's a great, that's a good one for young people to grow up, to be capable, confident and connected people. So that's really my sort of role in a nutshell. I'm looking forward to you testing my steep learning curve over the last couple of weeks, because I'm new to the school too, like you, so looking forward to the Q&A, and hopefully I can shine a bit more light on some areas of those things that I've referenced. So thank you, look forward to talking to you more later.
So I am moving back over here because one thing I forgot to say is we're actually filming this for those who can't be here tonight, so so that they can at least learn anything that there is to be learned. Thank you, sir. So this fine young woman on my right is Alison O'Mara Armstrong, who has the advantage over us of having been here for a few years. So she's actually a font of all sorts of good knowledge. But Ali is our Director of Academics, and I'll let her speak for herself. Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight. We do realize that it is a new year, and it'll be a new start, and we're really excited to welcome students back in person on campus to be learning and growing with one another. You have the really good fortune of having your children with excellent and passionate educators who really, really love what they do. And I have the good fortune of working collaboratively with Ander and with Susan, our junior school principal, and all of our teachers to ensure that our curricular programming is not only relevant to the students and interesting, but that it brings forward questions about the world around them. And in addition to that, I wear a lot of other hats. I also help coordinate the outdoor education program and our examination program, advanced placement if you have any questions about our college board program. And then there's a variety and sundry of things that I do as well with teachers, but mostly to support student-centered learning and to ensure that we have really excellent programming in place. But in addition to myself, there's also other people here who support that programming. So I'd like to introduce Maria Jones, who is our senior school secretary, and she is pretty much the keeper, the font of all knowledge. So if you ever need any answers, Maria has them as well. And next to her is Carol Ingledew. She's our post-secondary counselor, and Carol is responsible for helping students to select their courses and to build pathways for their future, so that it's, so that children are choosing what it is that they're interested in and going on to the post-secondary endeavors. So she's probably somebody that you want to have a chat with tonight as well. And then, would you like me to introduce Jolene?
Sure.
Okay. And then Jodine Bidens at our back. She is the director of our equestrian programming. And if you're interested in anything to do with equine studies, riding, equine facilitated leadership, our new program, she'll be a person that you'll want to speak to tonight as well. So we have a lot of value-added programming here and a lot of opportunities for students. And we're really looking forward to building those programs safely and moving forward in a way where everyone has an opportunity to participate actively in learning again. So thank you.
Well done. Thanks, Ali. I should say, just to pause on Jodine's program for a second, it's been one of the revelations of my time here. I've just admired so much what happens over at the equestrian and with the horses. And I've learned a bit, haven't I, Jodie? Yeah? Yes. I haven't got on one yet.
Well, that's over the year, though.
Yeah, you did teach me how to lead it and make it stop and go backwards and all that sort of thing. I was like a kid. I thought that was fantastic. So another person that I'd like to introduce is Heather Barfag, and Heather is our manager of community relations and alumni relations, and she's going to just give you a little idea of what that's all about.
Yeah, hi, thank you, and welcome to QMS. I'm so happy to see you. Some of your faces I have seen before, and some of you are new, but hopefully not for too long. I just wanted to mention, first of all, the lady I'm sitting next to is Kirsty Grant. She is part of the PA. And in addition to the PA, she is also an alum of the school, and she went to the school back in the 80s, so, sorry. She has tons of connections and a wealth of information, so if any questions you have about the history of the school or anything like that, she is one of the contacts to talk to. I also wanted to touch upon volunteer opportunities. I know I've seen a few of you help volunteer already with the unicycler, and I thank you so much. We do have a lot of volunteer opportunities throughout the year. The PA is one of them. Career Day speaker, I know that, I believe it's Carrie Craig that is doing it this year. So for our students, if you're in an occupation that you think that some students would be interested in, you can get in touch with me and I can pass on your information to Carrie. As well, next year we're hopefully doing our centennial celebrations, all goes well, and we could definitely use some volunteers for that celebration as well. In addition, I wanted to talk to you about the unicycler. The unicycler is a kind of an area that we have that you can purchase used clothing. It is open next week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 12, and Tuesday and Thursday from 12:30 to 4. The details for this will be on social media, about where to go, etc. And there are still some volunteer opportunities, so if you feel as though you wish to volunteer for a couple of positions next week, that'd be greatly appreciated, and you can come see me at the back. Thank you.
Thanks. Just to stress for the kids in the room that it's the school that's 100 years old next year, not the head of school. Just to clarify it, right? There you go. I'll open it up now for some Q&A again, so that we can let those who are not here benefit from the answers they hear. I'll try and channel you to the right person if I can, and then after that we'll have an opportunity to mingle. And I have to tell you, you have to do a better job of the food over there tonight than last night, because some of us ate way more Nanaimo bars and sandwiches than we're supposed to eat at this stage in life, right? There's all this food left over, and we've been picking at it all day, but this is all fresh new stuff. It's okay. I have to say that. Okay, so stop, Robson, when you're ready. So anyway, does anyone have a question? Nobody likes to go first, but yeah.
Jennifer Hoyt, my daughter Emma is entering for the first time in grade 11. I have a question regarding athletics and what that's going to look like. And I'm sure that you guys are probably just about asking those questions as well, but do you have a plan for that?
We do, and I'm going to pass over to Anna to answer that. I know what BC School Sports have told us we can do or can't do, but pass over to Anna.
Yeah, so I think we're looking to run much the similar sorts of sports that we would typically run over the course of the year, but just within the guidelines at the moment that we've been given. So most of that is around the physical distancing side of things. So probably going to have to be creative with maybe smaller sided games and that sort of things for those team sports. There are certain other sports, like cross-country running, for example, where it's just probably going to be a bit easier to keep the distance and play on as usual. It's just that opportunity to compete against other schools that at this stage we just can't do, which is unfortunate on the one hand, but at the same time we can still improve, we can still have fun, we can still create a really enjoyable experience and set up some sort of maybe intramural type play here on campus for the students. So. Good comment.
And lots of fitness and skills. That's That's the good news or the bad news, depending on how you're looking at it. Any others? Anybody else? Hi.
Hi, Mike Kolbakar, my son Yuri's actually going into grade 9. Just a question that probably everybody wants to ask is just regards to the COVID-19 planning and what, moving forward, if the situation actually was to degrade, let's say, what would that look like for educational opportunities for the students that are either that are here on campus, or the day students as well?
Right. Thanks, Mike. As you can imagine, that's become a daily event for us, right? So we have a little sort of group that meets virtually every day to consider the new changes, the new directives. Just to give one example, right? Between sending out our restart plan last week and 3 days later, the stance on masks was quite different, right? So so we adapted to that and we modified our plan, because I think for all schools, the important thing in this kind of period is to be nimble and react quickly, to think ahead so that things don't surprise you, right? So we're having discussions about, okay, what do we do when we have that first positive case on campus? What's our plan? So we're planning all those kind of unwelcome scenarios, but you have to have a plan for them, right? But I think that sorry, there was something else I was going to say that was more direct to your question. We're ready. That's it. Yeah, sorry. We're ready with our online delivery, right? And Ali can perhaps talk about that, because she's really brought that together so well right from the beginning of this COVID thing.
Actually, I'd hazard to say that our faculty brought it together really well in March when we had to pivot really quickly to remote learning. And so in anticipation of the potential that we may have to go back to a situation where we were learning from home, it's not something that we would like to do. We will be continuing to use those tools and build them into our daily practice. They won't feature as a primary mode of instruction while students are in class, but we will be using learning management systems throughout our daily practice, so that students are aware of how to use these tools should it be necessary to go to learning from home in a remote situation. So we call that a hybrid flexible model of learning. So our primary method of instruction come September will be face-to-face in the classroom, building connections, maintaining social distance. But teachers will be daily using their learning management tools. And in the case of grades 5 through 12, that's Microsoft Teams. And in the case of grades K through 4, that'll be Seesaw. So those are the tools that students would use, and they'll continue to practice using them so that they are familiar with them if they need to. But we won't be hosting online learning like we did in March through June, which is remote or live streamed lessons. The content for classes will be uploaded. Teachers will be available if a student has to go home and self-quarantine, for example, and they want to maintain and keep up to date with what's going on in the class. They'll be able to access that information. If things change any further, we feel that we're fairly prepared. We have the tools in place, but we really are hoping that face-to-face interaction is the way that we're going to be moving forward. And it is, I'm going to reiterate it one more time, it is our primary mode of instruction, because that's how students build relationships with their teachers, and that's how students build relationships with one another. So that's the plan for now, and if we have to change again, we will. And I think there's some teachers in the room. I think that they can probably attest to how resilient we really were as a community, and how willing everybody was to dive into a new method. So if we're all open to the possibility of change, and I think we all are now aware of how rapid change can happen, then we'll be fine. We'll be in it together. So I hope that answered the question. Sorry, you're sort of standing up.
Thanks, Ali. Thank you. Thanks for the question. Anyone else? Burning questions? No? Okay. I think, as you know, just the whole reason for installing the thermal imaging system was just to try and provide another layer of reassurance or precaution. We know it's not 100% foolproof, and you know, it's like everything. You know, you can find an article that'll tell you that face masks are not particularly desirable or effective. You can find an article that'll tell you this. That's one thing that's happened during this COVID. There's all sorts of different sources of information that have sprung up. We're definitely not promoting bleach, I have to tell you that. But seriously though, so our hope is that the various layers that we're putting in place, so the self-check that happens at home, you know, how are you feeling, you know, etc., the various questions that we're asking our parents to ask. And then once you get to school, everybody, well, not ostensibly, everybody that's on campus will have gone through the thermal imaging. So that's another layer of perhaps reassurance. And then there's all the sanitizing, the washing the hands that will happen right at the beginning of any class or assembly, the masks now as we move between, the physical distancing. So all those measures will do everything we can to make sure this is as safe an environment as it can possibly be. And then, you know, there's a part of it though that is out of our control. I was totally shocked the other day to hear on the radio that they reckoned that 1 in 5 Canadians were cynical spreaders. In other words, people who didn't buy in to the dangers of their behaviour. And I thought that was incredibly high and really worrying, because we can all do our level best to try and make sure that it's not spreading yet. But if you've got 1 in 5 out there that are not caring, it makes our task harder. So, not to be depressive, I'm sorry, but it was a bit shocking to me, I have to say.
David, how would we talk about, I'd like to talk about orientation day, opening day?
Sure, yeah, I'm just going to talk about orientation day.
So this year, of course, everything is different. And normally we would have orientation day with families and their children together. Clearly, we've split the two events up slightly so that we can welcome students back onto campus on September 8th. So September 8th is New Student Orientation Day, so all of you here who are students, you're welcome to come that day. We will be sending out notification of who your faculty advisor is, and between 10 and 12 that day, you can come onto campus, and we will give you a preview of things such as the new health and safety routines. You can get your timetable, know your courses, ask your faculty advisor questions, and just get a sense of the school and the things that you can be prepared for the next day, which is our first day of school. So September 9th is actually the first day of school for everybody. So you will receive a message home shortly, within probably the next week, that'll have indication of who your faculty advisor is. You can come on. You don't need to wear a uniform that day, but we will have prefects and student leaders, some of whom are here tonight, who will be there to take you on tours, show you around the school. We do have 27 acres, so it's a lot of places to learn how to learn where to go and where you need to be for your different classes. We also have the benefit of 27 acres, so a lot of our teachers will be leveraging the outdoors when you go to class this year. So stay tuned for an email soon, an invitation to come on that day, just to get an early sense. It's like insider VIP information. Does anyone have any questions about that? The one thing we will be asking you to bring that day is your laptop, and that's because we are Bring Your Own Laptop School. And laptops can be a variety of different kinds of brands or device. They just need to meet the specifications in the handbook. And actually, Toby, who's holding the camera here, he has put together the specifications that you need. It's not really that complicated. It needs to run on the internet. It needs to be in English. It needs to have an up-to-date operating system on it, like Windows 10, or the most up-to-date Macintosh operating system. But if you bring it, we can have a look at it and we can help you start to get oriented to how you can use your laptop at school.
Thanks again.
No, that's a day where you'll practice the kiss and go method. So we have been using this sort of drop-off area. You will drop your child off, they'll come up through the thermal imaging camera atrium, meet their FAs on the other side, and by that point you'll know their name, but they'll also know your name. and then you'll go off with your FAs and you'll come back and pick them up. And so we'll send you details for when you can come around. So we're asking parents, if you're dropping off and not using the bus, to drive through the circle, drop your children off, and then do the same when you're picking them up. So we're just using this one. If they're coming on the bus, then the school will be in contact with you about bus routes if they haven't already. And September 8th, a bus is not running that day, so because it's a shortened day. But on the first day of school, a bus will be running, and from then on in, buses will run every day. If that's the case, they come on the bus, they come through, and they get park on the other side and come up through the atrium as well. Yeah, but yes, September 8th is for kids only. Super secret.
When we were on campus, finally, in June, and we've actually had young people back on campus, this staggered arrival actually worked quite well and made the beginning of the day less frantic. You know, I had never experienced a normal beginning of the day, but I'm just taking on people's word that it was cars everywhere and it was all a bit frantic. So this was very ordered and it worked very well. So we're trying to, we're not doing exactly the same, but we're trying to retain some elements of it. And so we'll give people, you know, a window of time for that grade to arrive and go through the kiss and go process, as Ali said. And yes, we're still going to kiss and go, because you're never too old to kiss your mum or your dad. Yeah? Any other questions? Yeah.
School supplies. Do you know what kind of like stuff we need to bring in?
So tell me your name first of all.
Yuri.
Yuri. Hi, Yuri. So Yuri, and Ali's going to answer your school supplies.
So actually in senior school, it's a little bit different because you don't get a list, a long list of school supplies. But I would say all of the basics that you've needed so far: binders, loose leaf paper, you're going to need your laptop, markers, scissors, glue sticks. So all of that stuff you see at Staples when you go in, one of each is probably important. The other thing is this year we're not sharing things in the classroom the way we used to. So often teachers would have big pots of markers and things for kids just to grab and share and it would stay in the classroom. It would be really great if you picked up your own set of markers, and the good ones are the ones that smell like watermelon and apples. So yeah, go and pick up the school supplies that you've needed probably in the grade before you. If you want a new fancy binder, get that too. Probably for every class you should have a binder. But it's not as specific as sometimes the primary lists that say you need very specific things. So binders for your classes, count up how many classes you think you're going to have, paper, pens, pencils, markers, scissors, glue sticks. You should be good.
I was going to add calculator.
Oh, calculator. And actually, for older grade students, the calculators get more specific by the course, so please look in the handbook if you need a T185 calculator. That would be for some of the pre-calc, calculus, older grade classes.
Thank you. So I'm happy to take another question, but I also want to give you time to go around and ask the others here. But
my name's Russell.
Hi, Russell.
Folger. My daughter Elsa, starting grade 9. What's the school policy on phones and devices during the day and throughout the day?
So, yeah. So we're both sort of good. Okay, you go. Yeah.
Okay. Our policy on cell phones is that they're away for the day and out of sight. I think myself and probably we all have all spent more than enough time on our screens over the last few months as well. But it's an excellent time for us to reconnect in a face-to-face way, and we like that to be the tone and the feel on campuses. For people looking up, making eye contact, engaging with each other, saying hello to each other, really feeling part of something together. Actually, as Ms. Robson said earlier, just building those connections and building those relationships. So cell phones, we're not anticipating people to be wandering around, sorry fellas, but wandering around the school on cell phones.
So is it a case of they arrive here and put it somewhere, or?
They have lockers
where they can put them, but I'm not sure what the previous policy.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the key is that we don't want to see people walking around with their phones. It's in your locker or in your bag, away. We don't want it in your pockets. We don't want it out. And really, unless it's an emergency, we have a new phone system, also thanks to Toby, all over school, and we can help you if you need to make a phone call somewhere. So unless it's an emergency, we ask that parents, if you want to get in touch with your children, which we know we do now, we tend to text our children. If it's really urgent, that you call Maria Jones and let her know, and we know where your kids are at all times, so we'll track them down. And if you could just help us out, helping the kids out to not use them when they're not needed, that would be really helpful. There are circumstances that are teacher-specific and at the discretion of the teacher where they may ask students to use a camera to take pictures or videos just because we know that by and large our students have them, so it's an available resource. But we're going to be asking that for the most part they're away for the day. It's not something we particularly want to police. We don't want to be chasing down people with their cell phones, so I think it's really easy. Backpack, away, locker, away, and then if it's needed, it'll be at the very supervised and special discretion of the teacher who may want them to use an app on their phone.
Yeah, I think the reason I was, that's excellent. The reason I was sort of champing a bit to go in, because obviously been around this for a long time, and I think it's all based on respect and connection. And if you're on your cell phone, you're not connecting with anybody else other than whoever you're connecting with on the cell phone, but you're not live connecting. So, as Andrew said, we're trying to encourage that. We're not being 100% confident until we've actually talked to the student body, because it'd be much better if we get their buy-in, their oh yeah, okay, we get what you're trying to do, and so we need to explain that to them. So we don't want it to become a policing task where we're hiding around corners and trying to catch people on their cell phones, right? That's not the idea. The idea is that when we talk to the students at some length, we'll take questions and responses, and it'll be a cooperative agreement that we'll reach with them. Does that answer the question?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Melissa. My son Bennett is starting grade 10 this year. And just a follow-up on that, you had mentioned that sometimes there may be occasions where a teacher does require that. If a child had a parent who was not very kind and had never allowed them such a device, and had said that there is a landline at the school, they won't need that?
They won't, no. And when I say that a teacher may ask a student to use it, it would be perhaps to video a group assignment that they might be working on because there's not enough cameras to go around to every group. And so they might just be being creative and leveraging the tools that exist. Or
they can airdrop. Somebody can airdrop to their laptop.
That's just fine. Yeah, there's no need. We have no circumstances where students will need a cell phone. We'll always be able to supplement.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, Bennett.
It's okay. I don't know if you picked it up, but I loved the way you turned around and said, "I still love you, Mum." Okay. Any other questions?
Does anybody have any questions about uniforms or uniform specifically?
Well, I assume I haven't read the handbook in detail because you keep referring to it. But yeah, I'm just wondering like at the shop, it looks like we could spend $10,000 or $20,000 on it.
Starting.
It looks like a lot of different stuff. Is there a standard set of?
Yeah.
We have some models over here.
Yeah. I mean, we'll both try to chip in on this one. And there's also, there are parents in the room and kids will know, but there is a standard set. We have formal days, so Centennial Days, which is the dress that you see our students wearing currently, so they have options. Blazer, the gray blazer is required for senior school, so it's a bit confusing because our traditional blazer is green, but now it's currently gray. They need a kilt or pants, it doesn't matter which one you choose, and a dress shirt. They will receive their house when they're buying their uniform, so you should know what house they're in, and if not, call us, we'll let you know. they're either going to have a green, a red, or a yellow tie, which indicates which house they're in or school. And so this is sort of the formal dress. They need gray socks. Boys just need gray boy socks and knee socks if they like. And then black dress shoes. And this year we have been allowing students to wear Blundstones or sort of riding boots that are not field boots. There is a not so formal uniform that happens on the other days, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So this would be our classroom dress day. It's a golf shirt, and now we have several colors. There's gray, white, blue, and then the same pants, black pants or kilt. And there's a variety of optional sweaters that you can buy. So there's a green sweater that you can see Sydney wearing. There is a hoodie, like it's a fleecy hoodie that we're allowing students to wear now, and then gym strip. And gym strip is the gym uniform, so it's sort of self-explanatory. And if you are a rider, you can also, if you're riding during the day and you have a lesson that day, it doesn't matter what day, you can wear your breeches. You just can't wear field boots inside the school, or your helmet and field boots, or half chaps need to go in your locker, and you can go out, you can wear running shoes. So the kids actually pick up on the uniform pretty quickly, and the school shop is great about the uniform, but I know that Heather mentioned the unicycler, and the unicycler is a huge savior for parents because it's a way of us recycling our uniforms. You can buy one that's in great condition, and some of the things in there will help supplement, so you have extra pieces. So formal days, Monday and Friday, not so formal days, the days in between, gym uniform, and if you're a rider, equestrian uniform. And if you have questions, we're really supportive and educational about it. We'll help you out. We'll help you figure it all out.
Yeah, I would just add that it might just take a few days or a week or so just to get into that rhythm, and not to feel anxious or bad if you make a mistake and you've got the wrong thing on. We'll be absolutely supportive and forgiving of that. And then just when we're wearing our uniform, just wear it well, just wear it properly.
Can you elaborate on the sort of the hair and makeup and nail polish? And I just wanted to add that I had a bit of a shock because I picked up my uniforms and I ordered gym shorts, and I said to Emma, come on out and model them for me, and she came out and I just fell over. So I was actually charged for gym shorts, but I think we got the shorts that go underneath the kilt.
Oh.
And I was like,
yeah, there's those too.
yeah, I was a little shocked.
Yes, gym shorts are usually about knee.
I can verify that. Yeah. Probably showed me the pictures.
Yeah.
So can we just talk about hair and makeup and nail polish?
Yeah, so hair should be a natural color. So I know that pink and blue and green have become quite popular, but they're not part of our uniform standard. We want to look professional. We want our students to look professional as well. We want to be part of the community. Makeup needs to be neutral and not outwardly noticeable. So no bright red lipstick if that's your thing, or purple or pink. And jewelry as well needs to be modest, and so we don't do dangly earrings or facial piercings that are, quite obvious, large. Nail color also needs to be neutral for children, so any of the students at any grade need to have sort of a neutral fingernail color. So black, is out, but light pink and sort of beige is in. Am I missing anything?
No, I just think we really hoping the focus is on education and the character, so that we can, perhaps not get caught up in some of the excesses and that sort of thing. So hopefully that makes sense too. Just in the same mantra of having a uniform, you don't have to worry perhaps or be anxious about what you need to wear on that particular day, and we can really focus on doing what we're trying to do on a daily basis at school.
The good news is we have days where you can wear your own clothes, so you get to show your personal flair and sense of style, and modest and respectfully. But you can participate in Civies days by wearing your jeans and whatever personal sense of style you have, you can show it off that day. Is that okay?
I was just grateful about the shorts.
Those aren't the shorts. Those are the undershorts. Yeah.
Robin Bond, my daughter Georgia will be attending grade 10 this year. Curious, you mentioned that they're members of the House. I'm assuming the day students are also. Will there be opportunities through the year where they will be invited to stay overnight, like there are other schools we visited?
Yeah, so that, I was just going to speak to the boarding program as well. I might address that question. I'll start with the question. So, at the moment, just given some of the regulations and the protocols and that, you know, the proximity within the boarding house of boarders and movement and things, at the moment, we're not looking to have sleepovers for now in the house. Unless we have the opportunities of you know, other rooms or empty rooms where we can possibly have students sleep over. But at the same time, part of the experience is sharing the room and interacting with people. So that's something that is sort of an ongoing conversation with the residential team. We spoke about that this morning as well. So yeah, we're discussing that. I would love for that to be an opportunity. I think it's a great experience. It's something different. You get to see another part of the campus, another part of sort of QMS life as well. And just on that, we looked at restructuring that boarding program. Now we have a system whereby we have live-in adults in the residence who are responsible ultimately 24/7 for the care of the students, and they're developing close relationships with the students, close relationships with the parents. And we have a house director and assistant house director in both the boys and the girls residence. So.
And on that as well, just hearing about my wife's history going here when she went to school, will the boarding students ever come out and stay with the day students' families? Because that's something that used to happen.
We'd love that to happen. We really are looking at integrating as much as possible the different, all the different facets of QMS so that we truly have a sort of one school feel. And I think those sorts of ideas and those initiatives are exactly what we need to try and promote and encourage, so that we try and, if there is any divide between boarders and day students, we try and just sort of rough the edges of that and make sure everyone feels part of one school.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that's a good one. Question back there?
Do we know approximately how many new students we have this year?
We do.
There's about, right now we have about 75 new students this year. We have to. From preschool all the way to grade 12.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Listen.
I was piggybacking on Emma Gale's. Approximately how many day students versus boarding students, and with us having boys coming now in senior school, the growth in that area as well.
Yeah. Sorry, you didn't hear the last part.
So the growth in the area of the boys in senior school. Just curious as well.
Yeah. So right now we have. Sorry, what was the
percentage of day versus boarding?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. So right now, like the internationals, we're living in a year where borders are closed and it's very hard to travel, and visa offices and study permit offices all over the world were shut down for a very long time. So for our international students, we had to defer a few to either mid-year start or to next year. Just because they're really unable to get into the country. Our current students who are boarders are going to have no problem getting back into the country. So our boarding population has shrunk just a little bit this year. We still have 75 boarders, but last year we had 95. And so most of our intake this year actually has been day students. For the 75 new families and new students that we have, about 15 probably are boarders. So that's kind of the percentage right there. And then with boys, it's been a very big intake, as you can see in the audience, of boys this year. So it was funny that you just asked that question because I was just going over it today. Because we were traditionally a all-male school, so most of the senior grades from grade 10 to grade 12 are heavy with females. Although there's a large male population in each of those grades now. Grade 12 probably being the minimum. We have our first grad sitting over here, male grad, Evan. I'll have to embarrass him. But he's our first male grad, our first male prefect, and he's graduating in the 100th year of our school. So that's pretty amazing.
Cool.
But for the other grades, from grade 9 and below, you're looking at some of the, it's odd. When I was counting today, there's, it's about a 60-40 split for girls and boys for a lot of the grades. There are some grades that actually have more boys than there are girls. So like I think there was grade 7 and grade 5 class have more boys than girls. So it is, yeah, it's starting to kind of equalize in the school, which is really nice to see. Yeah.
And overall, the population is around 400.
Yeah.
So 75 on 400. Good.
Greg Gammy, Paul, my son Paul is going to be attending. Natalia, along those lines, and I think you might have addressed it at the beginning there, but what's going to be the protocol for your international students? And I'm sorry if you mentioned that at the beginning there.
Oh, for coming in?
Yeah.
So Anna and I have, do you want to talk about it?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay,
hi. We have us the first group coming in, about 16, 17 students who are arriving on Sunday, and we've rented Camp Pringle for a period where they're going to self-isolate. So they're going to arrive, and we have them there in housing, check on them every day medically, and have 2 of our house team staff there with them as well. And they'll be able to stick to all the protocols that we need to have in place, but also the activities and things like that. So they'll be there for their quarantine period before moving back onto campus. Those that arrive, we do have some drip feeding effect over the course of throughout the fall, and we have property here, the Old Boys residence, with some rooms in the middle that we sort of nicknamed Venice, actually, because the word quarantine actually comes from the Italian word quaranta, and was coined in and around the Venice port when they used to make the ships during the Black Death time. Wait for 40 days before they came in. So anyway, Venice is where Venice is where they're going to come to, and just in a controlled, measured way, ensuring that we don't have more arriving at one time than the capacity that we can take.
Okay, and just curious, for those international students that may not be here yet, do you have anything set up where they can, start their curriculum now, and then kind of join in once they get here?
Yeah, I'll talk to that. That's one of the great frustrations for all boarding schools in BC, because officially in BC you're not allowed to offer online courses to international students. And so we've been saying to them for weeks and weeks of calls and representations to the ministry and so on. Well, let's get this straight. You're not issuing them study permits at federal level. They can't get study permits, and then even if they do get the study permits, there's no guarantee that the Customs and Borders Agency will let them in. And then on top of that, you won't let us teach them online. How does that work? That's going to cost the province millions and millions of dollars. And so far, all attempts at getting a rational, reasonable response have met with woolliness. It's very frustrating, you can tell. I spoke to our local MLA the other day, and she actually, because I know her, and she had a conversation with the Minister of Education the very next day, and she called me back. And she said, yeah, he says he's on it, he's going to try and solve the conundrum. And I said, well, it should be fairly easy to solve the conundrum. You lifted that embargo from April to June because it was COVID and allowed us to do that. Why can't, we're still in COVID. We're not out of COVID yet. So anyway, so we are hoping that will still change and that we will be able to teach those kids online. And
yeah, well, that'll allow you to retain your student base as well.
Totally. And even, dare I say it, if we have to work around it where we don't teach them BC curriculum, piece by piece, but we teach them in the general area, and then match the two up when they actually get here.
Okay. And further down that line, for the 17 international students that are coming here, how did you wrangle that?
Wow. So right now we have deferred a lot of those students to mid-year. So most of those 17 new ones, they're coming mid-year. Scheduled to come next year. And and right now, if we're hoping that things will change and that maybe the government will relax rules and they may be even able to come like mid-fall. But right now, they're scheduled mostly to February.
Okay, awesome. Okay, because indirectly it affects the whole population of the school.
Yeah, the new ones. The new ones. Yeah, the return ones are coming as of this weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. If they had existing study permits, they were able to renew them.
Oh,
so
okay.
existing study permits, our returning boarders are having less difficulty. We still don't know what they will face when they get to the border. And we provided them with as much information to indicate that they are active students that are pursuing in-person education at our school, but they're existing students, not new.
Yeah, so the government has said that they are allowed to come into the country. And anybody who's receiving a study permit March 18th and beyond, right now they're held up.
Well, good luck with that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Challenge. Another challenge. We like challenges. So just a final word from me before I do let you go and ask some questions there. So you see the buildings, just an update on the buildings. We're really excited, obviously, about the new TLC, the new Learning Centre over there, which is essentially an extension to our junior school. Our art will go over there, music will go over there, and just some great spaces that we can use in all sorts of different and exciting ways. That will be, if it lost a bit of ground on the beginning of COVID because everything went on a freeze almost, but now it's picked up. So we're looking for that to be ready by spring break, and then we'll move in over spring break. So for the third term, we'll be in it. Before that, the new ECE, the new Early Childhood Education Centre, which is just tucked round the corner from the chapel, is going to be ready for start of school in September. And that's just a great little facility that just fits in perfectly with that sort of pre-K to grade 3. Is that right, Alice?
And the portables.
Oh, yes, yeah. So we've actually, because we anticipated that we'd need more space rather than less space, because our June experience, we had to split our classes in half, and instead of having 16 kids in the class, you could only have 8, so you had to have 8 one day, 8 the next day. So you need lots of space. So we got an opportunity to buy these modular classrooms that Glenline Norfolk School had been using while they were waiting for their new classroom building. And they're only 1 year old. And when I think of a portable, I sort of have this sinking feeling, because I've seen lots of portables in my time, and most of them stick around for way longer than they're supposed to stick around. But these are actually really quite attractive. You can probably come back and tell me in a couple of weeks' time when you see them, are you kidding me? But they fit together with a corridor and so on, and we've created an area for them. So we wanted more room, so in case we have to split classes or that kind of thing. So that's quite exciting. We've got a great deal on them from the new head of Glenline Norfolk School, who was formerly a colleague of mine along the road, but before that was a deputy head here at Queen Margaret, so he was kind of biased and has a relationship with us. Gave us a really sweet deal. But believe it or not, they're paying for the cost. This is music to my ears as a Scotsman. They're paying for the cost of getting them there. How good a deal was that? Other than that, we've done a whole courtesy of our board chair and her husband. We have a lot of heavy moving equipment. They've given us all sorts of time with one of their big machines and drivers and so on, and they've done all sorts of work at clearing up the edges of the property. Jodine's absolutely delighted. Her equestrian area has never looked this good. We've flattened areas out, and we've done drainage and all sorts of things. We've limbed trees up, courtesy of them as well, to create good spaces. We're working on the trail that the horses will use, the riders will use, as well as a walking, running trail. So there's all sorts of good things going on, basically. I'd like to say. Does that cover it all?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this time, we just wanted to invite you to chat with our faculty that are around the room. Jodine with a question, if you have any more questions with the question. Carol and Maria, you know, with academics and scheduling, and or Heather and Chrissy over here with the Parents Association, or amongst yourselves. Let's talk amongst yourselves. And then the students here too, they're full of knowledge, much more than three of us up here. So yeah, because a lot of these guys have been around here for a long time, so please take advantage of that. And we really, we thank you for coming.
And thanks everyone, thanks for entrusting us with the privilege of educating your children. Please eat the food.